Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending upon what time you are tuning in. Welcome to Run It Back, episode number 96. I am your host, Menelik Fernandez. And of course, the premise of Run It Back remains the same, where we take teams that have played previously and we run it back, so to speak, where we talk about game preparation, we talk about the intricacies of a scout, we talk about adjustments we make in game, we evaluate ourselves as coaches, all the real like nitty gritty stuff that coaches like that the average person might kind of be like, meh. But I love it. And it's been a really, really good adventure for these past couple of years. Today is no different. We're looking at a ladies basketball game between the Winchendon School and Bradford Christian. I don't actually have the date on this game. I know it's relatively recent, just given when it was posted to what was shared with me. But one of the neat things about this show has been that I have had coaches from the game join me for the better part of 2 years, and today is no different. I am very excited to have a brother, a friend, a comrade, somebody who I have picked the brain of for the better part of 2 years now in multiple Zooms joining me. Jonathan Mandeldove, welcome. Give me a second. Please allow me to warmly welcome you to the show. John was a head coach or is a head coach at the Winchendon School for the past 2 years. He's also been an assistant and head coach of the JV team on the men's side at Winchendon. He's been an assistant coach at Woodstock Academy for a year. He's been an assistant coach at Cheshire Academy for a year, and also has been involved with EYBL for the better part of 5 years at this point as an assistant coach, of which we have just recently found out we have a similar network of friends down there. Shout out Dwayne Ramage.
My
That
man.
that's it. He's the guy. But John, I'm. It's funny calling you John, all professional and everything. Dove, welcome, my man. It's awesome to have you on here finally. I'm excited to
Man,
run it back with you.
I thank you for having me. And to clarify something on the date of that wonderful game, it was January 21st of this year.
Awesome. Awesome. Thank you for that. I appreciate that.
Yes,
So give
sir.
us a little bit of background on uh, Winchendon, the league that Winchendon plays in, the
Uh,
level of competition that you would see. For those of us who are international and maybe don't know as much as you would, give us a little bit of where you're at.
so I'm here at the Winchendon School. We are part of the NEPSAC conference or league. It's about 100 schools of independent boarding schools, depending on whether they're going from seventh grade to post grad or regular ninth grade to post grad. We play in the league where the variations of like the league we played in this past year, we probably played against girls who are probably going to at least 45 to 50 young ladies that are going to college next year,
Right.
whether it be Division 1, Division 2, or Division 3. We have a big influx of international players as well here. Actually, next year for our school, we're bringing in a girl from Ireland. On the boys' side, I do deal with the boys' side a little bit in recruitment. It's the exact same way. We high-level young men. My year when I coached at Woodstock, I coached against two kids that ended up getting drafted in the last couple of drafts this past year. And that was really cool. So that's what we run into on the basketball front. Basketball is huge up here in the New England area, which is for all the viewers, it's Rhode Island, Connecticut, Massachusetts, Vermont, New Hampshire, and Maine. And
Thank you for
then
that. Because I actually just had a kid ask me that last week when we were away, and I was like, "Man, you've never heard of this area before?" So thank you.
yeah, and so with the boarding schools, actually part of New York is part of our league as well. So there are several boarding schools in New York that are part of our league. So yeah.
Love it. So when in the season, you mentioned it's in January, but where do you start? Where are you when this game is happening? And give us a little bit of a background of Bradford Christian.
So at this time, we're like David and Bradford Christian is Goliath. They've
Wow.
had some history. where they have a young lady that ended up going to UConn. They have some other young ladies that went to some really good Division I schools and Division II schools, as well as some high academic Division III schools. And so for us, we just came off of, I mean, I'm looking at the schedule. We came off of an interesting loss. An interesting loss previously, and I needed to motivate my guys to help them understand what it's all about. We had a rough start to start the season out because we were a brand new team to one another. I brought in 13 young ladies from New Jersey, New York, Connecticut, Rhode Island, Massachusetts, and New Hampshire, and Maine. And and so it was a rough start, and we played some really well coached teams, and so for me that was just one of the things where I had to showcase to my team to say, hey, look, if you don't buy in, you're going to lose to teams that you're not supposed to lose to. And that was the case for us, as we lost to a neighboring team, Cushing Academy. And it was great. It was great because it was a motivational tool for us to move into this game here with Bradford Christian, who had 5 girls that were getting recruited by Division I schools in their starting lineup.
Right.
And they were bringing a girl who's getting recruited by Division II and Division III schools off the bench.
Got it. So have you played them prior in this season?
No, we never played them. I mean, in our school's history, we played their second team. Like okay. that should give you kind of a basis of where we were coming from in regards to this type of game, and us elevating our program, and me being a part of the elevation. Where, you know, I brought in one girl that's going Division I, one girl going D2, one girl who's still trying to figure it out, who should have went D2, but it's probably going to end up trying to walk on at the Division I level. And then another young lady, you know, probably 3 more young ladies, I would say, that are either Division II or possibly Division III kids. So bringing in that amount of talent, you know, to turn over a program was unheard of. And so people wanted to see what we were going to do versus some of the established teams here in New England, and us not necessarily being known for girls basketball.
Got you. So you're making a change, and this, like you said, is a David Goliath, and you're in the middle of your season. So you're coming off of a tough loss. When do you start the scout? What does a scout look like for Jonathan? You know, what goes into it? What do you focus on? Is it paper? Is it video? Is it a combo? Take us through it, please.
So I started the scout of this team in December 15th. I started the scout because I actually watched them live versus a team that we were going to play down the line as well. And that's how I kind of mapped out the plan of, okay, this young lady is this, you know, this person, this girl is going to Drexel, this girl is getting recruited by UMass, this girl has an offer from BC on the table.
Right.
And so I actually was able to go to a live event, and then I watched them on film twice and mapped that out. But I think that was the biggest thing for me, was seeing them in person, allowing me to kind of eyeball them and be able to see the matchups, you know, play out in my head. Like, okay, I got this girl here. You know, Kaylee is going to be on this girl here. Right. My lefty point guard is going to be on this girl here. The girl is going to Drexel, so I can put my Division II girl on her. And just seeing how those things kind of play out in my head allow for us to have kind of that visual and that scout, you know, during practice, when I'm like, hey, look, 4 to 5 girls are going to shoot the 3 ball from 25 feet out.
Wow.
You know, and you actually see that on some of the video.
Yeah. Yeah, it's tough. So then walk me through that process. You go in, you see them, you get a pretty good mental rehearsal of what you want to do, what are you putting together for your girls and how are you delivering it? Like, what does practice look like? What does the actual scout look like? What are you putting in there for them?
So the first thing that I identify is who's the alpha.
Okay.
That the alpha is the most important piece to the team, because then you can branch off from there. And we identified the alpha actually being an eighth grade guard. She's a big eighth grade guard, but nonetheless, she was the alpha. She was the person that made the thing go, and the Omega was a senior guard that was going to Drexel. So how I presented to my kids were in written form. We were I write the scout out, and then during practice, I will have a scout team. So
Right.
I would consider them my second to slash third rotation players, play out some of their plays. So, 5 out, get the ball downhill, get it to the open man, run, on makes. They're running, they're hitting the outlet really quick to get it up the court, identifying the shooters, identifying the slashers. Those were the things that I put on my scout, like, okay, slasher, shooter, facilitator, okay, defensive, just, one girl who's just strictly defense and rebound.
Yeah. Got it.
And identifying their attributes that makes them a really good team. And that's how I present it to our kids. And then I would go back over the scout the day of the game, right in the locker room.
So when you
this is the scout again.
Do you do anything that's like testing them to see if they've really been through it, or are you just kind of going through it again and almost spoon feeding it to them as to what's going on?
So I spoon feed them a lot. I spoon feed them a lot because the IQs that I'm dealing with, I know that giving it to them and then walking away, or doing some stuff in practice and then saying, okay, do y'all remember this? Is kind of detrimental,
right,
to put it all on them. And I know as a coach, sometimes, we want, at the next level, of course, that's going to be put in their lap, but also they're still going to be spoon fed. So I basically just did what I was taught in college. Okay, here's a scout. This is what we're going over. It's the day of or the night before.
Right.
Because I can't tell you this 3-4 days before the game and then expect you to say, okay, do y'all remember this, that, and who's this person? Do you remember that?
Is there a video element to your scout? I know sometimes at high school or prep levels, it's challenging to track stuff down. Do you guys have the benefit of it?
So we have the benefit of finding, like, if we can find film on the team, we will watch it. A lot of teams, fortunately for COVID, it shined a light on putting film out, right? Because everybody needed to have film out.
Right.
But prior to COVID, nah, that was never the case. It was, that was private eyes only. Right. And you have to have a relationship with an opposing coach to say, hey, you played this team back on this date. Do you have that film? Can I see it?
Yeah. Been there, had those conversations for sure.
Oh man.
Heavy negotiation. Oh, what you got for me? What you got for me? Come on.
And too, realistically, you also have to understand, like, we recruit the same players. So you kind of have a feel for their game, right? The kids' game, and that's the biggest thing. Because even when we go out and we go look at these players, I keep notes of these kids, even if they go to my competition.
Right.
Okay, I already got notes on her.
That's beneficial for sure. I mentioned this on one previous program. I had like 3.5 years of video just get destroyed. Like the hard drive just died on me, and I was like, no, there's so much on that. Please. Yeah. But it happens sometimes for sure. Let me ask you this about the scout. I like your process. You mentioned, you find out who the alpha is, and then you do walkthroughs or plan scout teams during the week. What
Hmm.
sort of weight do you put on personnel versus the weight of the actions that the other team is using? Like, where do you sort of fall in that debate? Are you presenting more in one way, more in the other, or sort of?
Yes. Yeah. So I believe, I mean, we're all about Jims and Joes.
Right.
So, and Sarah's and whoever, Samantha's, okay?
There you go.
If you ain't got players, your scheme, regardless of what your scheme looks like, you can forget about it. So
Right.
I have to be focused more in on what the individual can do, because in the whole, they can burn us during the play.
Right.
You know, if they're great at shooting the basketball and they know how to come down off of a pin down screen, and my girl is ball watching, we're gonna have a long night.
Yeah. It's gonna be tough for sure.
we we're gonna have a long night because if she gets her puppy set, it's going up.
Love
And,
it.
and so I have to make our kids aware of that, because sometimes I think with this day and age of student athletes or athletes, let me say that, um, awareness seems not to be top priority, you know, and
That-
being aware who you play and why you play them and what they can do versus you against you and how they can hurt you is something that kids are not aware of, you
So
know.
I agree fully. And
Hmm.
without getting too deep into that, just a really topical question. Do you think that like the awareness, the focus level is something that can be taught and improved upon?
I think it can, if it's brought to the attention of the kid at a young age,
Gotcha.
at least, you know, to start saying, hey, be aware of this, you know, just continue. You have to be aware,
Right.
you know, and if you
So
want to
whatever you have
improve,
to do to train your focus, keep doing it.
correct,
Yeah.
correct. You
So
like those kids that are separators, that I call them separators, right?
mhm,
They stand out from the crowd. Their awareness of time, possession, who's guarding them, what they giving them, what they're not giving them. That's what makes kids special, regardless of ranking, regardless of any of the accolades that can be given by man. Man, that that's a
I
special
would agree
trait.
with you wholeheartedly, Dove. I think that is definitely a very big separator, like cognition, understanding, not just time and score, like differentiators. Like,
Correct.
dude, you're 6'10". I got to know where you are on the floor, right? Like you go over your left shoulder better than you go over your right. I got to know that at all times. Like, where's he trying to get
Correct.
those little things for sure are differentiators. So perfectly leads me to my next question about your scout. Uh, do you expect all of your girls to know all of the personnel of the other team, or do you kind of focus a little bit more like, hey, you're going to be guarding her, let me give you a little bit extra on her type deal?
I make sure that our kids focus on their individual task, because I think if they focus in on the entire collective, they won't have enough bandwidth to withstand all of that information, because there'll be sensory overload
Yeah.
in some cases. Because if you get them to focus in on a person that's going to be in front of them, they can master, you know, that person more so than they can be a jack of all trades of everybody else.
That's very interesting, John, in that I find most of the people that I've interviewed on this show,
Mm-hmm.
because they run like switching defenses, or they kind of present everyone to everybody and sort of let everybody be responsible. I think I lean in your direction a little bit, in that like I mean, maybe I just haven't been fortunate enough to have coached like a team where it's 10 or 12 deep and I don't need to worry
Mm-hmm.
about it. But like usually my first five, six, seven are significantly better. There's a pretty
Mm-hmm.
big fall off that I've experienced with teams that I've coached. So I kind of have a greater expectation of my first five, six, seven. So I sort of focus them a bit more in terms of hey, like you're guarding that person, you need to spend a little bit more time on that.
But you know what? Even if your eighth, ninth, tenth person isn't as good as the let's say the seventh and the sixth person, to
Yeah.
me, what I'm trying to do, and let's say you do those eighth, ninth, and tenth person is either a junior, sophomore, and a freshman, right?
Right.
I'm trying to mentally train them to understand what is going to be expected of them when the time is right for them to step in and play. To understand, hey, this is the person I want you to watch. This is the person I want you to watch. And I want
Yeah.
you to mimic some of the things that they're doing, in that regards. For scout purposes, I want you to understand how they can hurt you, right? The things that they do well, how are you going to guard them? What are you going to do differently than the person in front of you is doing?
I like it.
Those are
And I'm
some of the
also
questions that I present.
I like it, and I'm also of the opinion that it helps narrow focus for certain people too. When you are really
Mm-hmm.
more like, okay, you've got Dove, and whether you're the starting person on him or you're the person coming off the bench, I want you to really look for these things. What's the timing or the cue that's going to happen before to get him to do what he's doing there, and how can you alter or disrupt that? I find that helps for sure.
In focusing that, you also got to think about the background of these kids. Some of them have learning disabilities,
Right.
so the more that you can kind of cut down on the clutter in the crowd, the more you can get up out of them as well.
Love it. So going from general to specific, let's talk about this specific opponent a little bit here. What did you really narrow down as? I hate the phrase "the keys to winning," but that's sort of what I'm asking here. What were the advantages that you thought were going to throw them off their tracks and really give you the win?
uh Number one was limit the amount of offensive possessions.
Okay.
We want to limit you to the possession that you are supposed to have, right? Uh, and not give up extra opportunities, because, and I tell our girls, on a one-on-one basis, them girls over there are better than y'all. And if I didn't tell you all that, I'll be lying to you and I'll be lying to myself.
Right.
So have that chip on your shoulders to say, prove me wrong. It's okay to prove me wrong.
Right.
Number two, we want to create havoc. Look, I want havoc, craziness. I want people on the floor. I want energy possessions, right? Energy possessions, meaning that we're in the passing lanes. We're getting double teams. We're getting girls who are more slashers, and we're making them shooters. And we're taking away clean looks. If you're gonna have a look, they better have a hand in their face. Number
So
three, going back to that clean look, contested threes. We want to make sure that they're contested, or we're running them off the 3-point line, and we're funneling them into help,
love it.
or we're funneling them into taking a weird mid-range shot that they're typically not accustomed to doing.
Love it. So your keys to the game,
Mm-hmm.
thinking of them at hand.
Mm-hmm.
What about things that are like your central tenets, like pace of play or how many to the glass or screen coverage, those kinds of things? Do you alter them game by game for particular game plans, or would that game plan sort of fit into what your central tenets are?
So that's it. I mean, I'm one of these people. I just change it up. But it depends on the team, because if you play the same way that you played it, if you play the aggressive style versus a really good team that
Right.
can break press, they can break the press, and they understand how to take on the pressure, then you're not going to be successful. And I realized that over the 8 years that I've been coaching basketball and learned about the game of basketball. So coverage wise, I might not hedge. I might tell the girls we're automatically switching ball screens, right? we're quick enough where we don't have a lethargic big man like myself out there trying to cover, a kid that's pretty quick, off the bounce.
Right.
So, and even in some of this game, hey, switch, switch, switch. I'd rather them try to take contested twos than open threes because and that was part of our game plan. But we switch up the game plan where I might press one game, I might 2-3 zone one game, I might 3-2 zone one game, and I'm just going to throw the kitchen sink to see what is going to sit in that regard.
Love it. So my question then would be, you're not afraid to do that? You're confident in your girl's ability to be able to adapt game by game and change it up and play within something different?
Yes.
Love
Yes. I mean, that's the type of kids that I had to recruit. Being able to come from where they came from to come out here, they have to be adaptable. That has to be number one. Because if not, then when I send you off to college, how are you going to adapt to those type of changes and be able to adapt on the go as you consistently grow? So this starts the process.
Really do. I find this is a very consistent comment when I speak to coaches.
Mm-hmm.
Our IQ is low, so we don't do whatever, throw it in here. Or
Mm-hmm.
these guys aren't going to get it, so we don't, and then throw in whatever it is in there. And
Mm-hmm.
like, it's interesting to me because, I mean, I've coached a lot of bad basketball, to be perfectly honest with you, and I'm not afraid to lose a basketball game. So
Mm-hmm.
that being said, it's like, okay, if this team is superior to us, just like you said, kitchen sink, I'm going to try things. Because if I'm going to play into their format, I'm going to lose anyways. So let's junk it up. You called it havoc. Let's try new things. Let's see if we can disrupt and alter behaviors and take that alpha out of his or her pattern, et cetera, whatever it is. I'm really not afraid to try those things.
We live on the edge as coaches. We're living through our players. So you either recruit how you can coach, or you go get kids where they're going to help you expand your knowledge and understanding of the game. When I hear people got low IQs, you knew that they had a low IQ. You just didn't want to help fix it. You want them to do what they've been doing, and hopefully it translates to success for you at the next level.
Yeah. I agree with that. So in game now, on the bench, are you guys monitoring anything? Are you, tracking deflections, kills, anything of that nature? What's important to you on a box score? All of those kinds of things.
So we're tracking steals, right? Turnovers, steals. We're tracking assists. Those are the three major components for us to be successful. And if deflections, no, it's just kind of like you're rounding third base in a relationship, but you just get to third base. To me, it doesn't make any sense. I love to hear like, oh, we got 30 deflections, but how many steals?
Right.
Oh, only 10. Well, that doesn't. Okay, all right. Well, so I tell our girls to say, look, the way we cause turnover is when we get turnovers. We'll turn the team over, and then the other thing that we track is how many 3-pointers we put up. I put up 20. One game we put up 27 3-pointers. I like to shoot. You got to be able to shoot.
So if whatever the metric is that's important to you, let's say it's shooting 3-pointers or total number of steals, if you're not where you're supposed to be in a game, how do you implement change? Is it just a simple conversation, or do you have specific actions that you're going to? How does that sort of happen for you?
In game, what changes is personnel. Somebody's not going to be on the court because they're not giving energy and the effort that we need here and what's the standard here at the Winchton School. But off the court, in like, let's say even in practice, is something that we speak about, that we talk about, that we break down, that we try to understand, that I understand as a coach. It's not always going. One game we may have 10 steals, another game we probably will only have 6. But were those 6 impactful? Did we score 5 out of 6 times? Because if we score 5 out of 6 times, that's huge. Because if we only score 5 out of 10 times, that we, another game, that's not. I mean, hell, we might as well should have just allowed them to throw it up and get a defensive rebound.
I like it. And then usually I round off the question part with this. Do you do anything post-game that is both an evaluation of your players, but also an evaluation of your own game plan and how effective it was? Like, are you adapting what the game plan was to the output and being like, okay, that was an execution error, or that was an error on my part, like I gave them the wrong information there?
Yeah. I mean, all the time. I tell the kids, you know what, those 2 or 3 threes, those are my fault, because I didn't prepare you for that action. And I try to call out our seniors, the ones that are playing, and just let them know how they did today. What type of energy and effort in regards to, our overall objective, and how they met those objectives, or they were a tad bit short on those objectives. So that's what we typically do at the end, after games, right? After games, that's just a breakdown. I break down myself first, and then I break down the players second, and let them know where, they stand with me, and know that, if God gives us another day, then you have another opportunity to do better. Just like I did.
I love it. How effective do you find that is, being as direct as you are? Because I'm somebody who, like, I'll tell you to your face, like, I think you didn't do this. And I get a lot of, oh, coach, you're hating. And I'm like, I'm not hating. I like you as a person. My evaluation of your performance is this. Like, can you take that or can you not take that? Right.
So the one thing that I tell the kids before the season start is, your performance and your feelings are 2 different things.
Right.
Okay. I want you all to understand that with me. I'm not here for feelings. I'm here for performance.
Right.
You're here for performance. You're not here for feelings. You're going to have times when you are down and out. I totally understand that. Trust and believe me. But my actions speak louder than words, and you will see. And so my kids know from the jump where I stand, because I want to make sure that is clear and concise and precise, and it's precise to our overall objective and goal. It's like, we all come with problems and baggage. Okay. Don't drop them off in this facility.
Right.
Leave them somewhere else. This facility is a safe haven.
So then here's the screamer that's not a typical question on here. Do you find, as somebody, first of all, you're male on the female side, you're a very tall gentleman at 6'10", 6'11". Do you find that you're a little bit more reserved, or have to choose words differently than you would if you were on the male side, having experience on both sides, when you're providing criticism, critique, etc.? Or do you think that the women that you coach respond better when you don't do that and you're just very direct with them?
Damn, that's a great question.
It's one I struggled with personally, right? I did one year.
Personally, I struggle. I struggle because I talk to the girls just like I would talk to the guys.
Right.
And I'm just very direct in that sense. And I don't want to change. I'm stubborn in that sense, that I don't want to change. But you have to be careful, because like, I got caught up like that. Like, I told the kids in the film session, I said, look, I got this girl out on the court, and I don't even know why she out on the court, but I really must be upset at some of y'all to put her out in the game. And her mother found out about that comment,
And she wasn't
and
happy.
so she wasn't happy, and that was something that I had to learn. That I'm like, I was given some great advice my first year being a high school coach. Period, was that these young ladies or these players aren't me. They ain't me. They can't take that type of criticism. They're not going Division I to UConn. They're
Right.
not doing any of that. They're playing the game because they like it. Their friends are, like it. So they're just being involved. And so I have to continue to remember that as I address these young ladies, that I'm like, look, y'all are young ladies, stop doing this. You suck today.
Yeah.
You have another day to get better. If I don't tell you that and I just sugarcoat it like, oh, you was okay. You was okay. And then they go back and they tell that message of I was okay. Okay. And the parents are like, well, why isn't the coach playing anymore? No, she sucked today.
Yeah.
Yeah. I get it just suck the life out. Like you just might want to try this again tomorrow.
I have been fortunate to have the opportunity to coach on the women's side previously, and I have been fortunate to be offered jobs again on the women's side. And I don't know, this is why I asked this question. I don't know if I could continue on that side because I am as direct as I am. And I found that in my experience, it was best to be direct and then deal with the ramifications with the people who couldn't take it, as opposed to sugarcoating and making it look like you're a liar with some people.
You know what? I caught myself, and I was thinking about what you were just saying. 4 years ago, I actually had to really put in humor into my character of being Jacqueline Hyde as a coach.
Right.
And letting the kids know, because the kids will look at you weird. And I'm saying dad jokes to them, even though I'm not a father. But I put in humor to kind of break up the, right now you suck and you're not giving us no energy and you care about this over here instead of that. This little boy over here walking around because he's sniffing you and you sniffing him. Like I'm that direct, but I actually hit them with a little humor as well, and it kind of breaks it up. And for the girls, it allows for them to those barriers. They will run through a wall quicker than a boy would.
I agree,
and I've seen that part where I've as a coach, as a young coach, realize that the more I give of myself and give my character to these young student athletes, the more I get up out of it.
Love it. Let me go back to the scout for 1 second, just before I get into video. I have one that just kind of popped up in my mind, and I'm curious about this. You said that part of your game plan was limiting possessions and on their side, and I'm sure that means stealing the ball, obviously, as well. But how would that affect you offensively? Do you want to slow it down on the offensive side as well if you're trying to limit possessions of the other team?
No. We want to speed it up. I want to limit, when I say I want to limit their possessions, I want to make sure that they're one and done, right? And we're gaining multiple possessions, whether it be offensive rebounding, whether it be steals and takeaways, whether it be getting them just to turn the ball over. And creating some havoc and making sure that they're on their toes because they're good, they're talented. So if we make them uncomfortable and be physical with them, then they realize that, hey, they're in the dogfight.
Love it. I'm going to get into a bit of film unless anybody has some questions. Dove, with this film, I'll play each clip 2 to 3 times. First time, just so everybody can take a look at it. The second time, I'll try to fumble through a description just because some people listen to the podcast instead of watch it. And then the third time, it's all you. Just tell me what you see. Tell me, why you're running it or how you would defend it better, anything along those lines. Just want to have a conversation with Coach Dove.
Yep.
So let me know if this playback speed is all right for you here. Is that smooth? It looks okay.
I don't see anything. I'm waiting for something to move.
Oh, it's not up on your screen. This is interesting.
Yeah, it's up on my screen. No, it's up on my
I'm
screen,
try
but it
it
just
one more
wasn't
time for you. All right, we're back up, and are we good? Are we moving?
It's loading. It's loading right now. Yeah, it's loading.
I wonder why that would be.
Okay, I see it now. I see it now. All right, yep, we're good.
All right, so let's see how far behind you end up being of me. So right now, I'm at the start of the clip. Are you at
Yep, I'm at the start of the clip.
All right, so first clip, for anybody who's listening, basically it's Dove's team is defending. I called it drop over coverage. The other team is attacking from the offensive left slot, and it's near the very beginning of the game. We get a crossover. She goes to go over the screen. Ball defender gets hit by the screen. It could be a switch. It could be dropping over. She pulls up for a mid-range, hits a semi-contested, or sorry, misses a semi-contested shot. Dove, talk to me about the coverage. Talk to me about.
So the girl that's setting the screen is getting recruited by BC. The alpha is the girl with the basketball. That's the eighth grader that can really play. We did a terrible job of communicating on this play right here because my starting point guard, Janae, kind of gave up right there because, again, like we talked about switching, so she automatically thought that Kaylee, who's probably either our first or second best defender, was just going to automatically slide over and make her either dribble it or, make her do something or give it up in that regard. So Kaylee is protecting paint, and I told her close out late, and she took a really good shot, but she missed it for us. In this same time, we want to push the ball on misses. So we get out and go. Anybody, and the rule is anybody on the court for us can push the ball up the court, regardless of what position it may be.
Love it. As far as the ball defender, talk to me about if there's any teaching points that you would teach them in a switch like this. You mentioned the screen defender, contest late, and switch over. Talk to me about her ability on ball here.
So we want to, a lot of the times I preach to our girls, the top guard, we want to force them to the screen. We never want a ball handler being given an avenue where they can attack downhill right off the bat, right? Sometimes you'll be able to ice the screens a little bit, but in this regards, because I know that the girl that's guarding the ball is slow foot, she's a slow-footed defender, I want to make her force her girl over top where she's got help, right? She's got a girl that can close out. She's got another girl that's watching the defender. She got 2 feet in the paint right there. That's Lauren Fillion.
Right.
She's got 2 feet in the paint. And the redheaded girl to the opposite of the basketball is probably one of the better shooters. So my second best defender is not worried about the roll person. We're not going to worry about the roll person. We're going to allow the back defender back there that's on the post worry about the roll person. She stays with the shooter.
Got it. Next one, bit of a staple on my show. It's just basically an advance up the offensive right side of the floor, and she pulls it from the wing. This is about 5 minutes left in the first quarter. And the question is just every week I always ask it, transition threes, yay or nay? And if yes, what do you have to do to be able to shoot these kinds of shots for you?
I want transition threes all the time because that puts our best rebounders in position. We don't have a traditional post at my school. So for us getting up threes, like that young lady, if she's going to back away from you, you better take it. You got to have confidence to take it. If it's a clean layup, we want to get a clean layup. But if the defense is settled back, but they're being lazy at getting out to the shooter, shoot the basketball. We got rebounders coming downhill. Watch. As she shoots the ball, we got at least two girls in rebounder position, one girl that's back just in case they try to go for a fast break.
Right. Love it. And can anybody have that green light on your team?
Yes. If you hit more than 3 threes in practice, when I'm saying I have a drill where you have to hit a certain amount of threes in less than 30 seconds, then you can shoot the ball. You got the green light.
Let it go.
Oh man, you got to have confidence in this game. Go ahead.
This was just a set that I liked of yours. I'm going to fumble through this description. Please forgive me. It's almost like a 1-3-1 alignment to start. We enter to the offensive left wing. We get a shuffle, cut, and screen happening. So the girl's cutting over the nail. And then this turns into a pin down at the top. And we continue to reverse the ball. And then at the same time, the girl that came off of the shuffle receives a pin down on the original ball side. We put it back to her. She passes up on the shot, drives it for a really good attack. We don't end up making it, but I actually really like the action. I think it's Princeton based, if I'm not mistaken. Talk to me about options, what you see, all of that fun stuff.
So as you if you want to stop the film right there, stop the film right there. We are trying to get the back end of the court open for any drives to the basket or any backdoor cuts.
Right.
Okay. We don't have because I talked about not having a traditional post. So this is our non-traditional post offense.
Right.
With the young lady in the middle, her main objective is to get that cut, which is a Princeton offense. We call this X, where we try to get the pin down screen. She comes off that shuffle cut, coming off top. And then because what that shuffle cut does is it makes the big drop. Now, This girl can actually shoot the ball. So if you're not closing out properly and we get this pin down, we get that small pin screen and she gets that shot up. Look, so now they both ran at it, right? So what typically needs to happen is this person here is that will person that is making this entire offense run. She has to make a decision, right? If you would get her to get the ball back to the middle, if she would have just kept her eyes downhill to look at the rim, she had the point guard wide open, well, semi-open with the pass. But because the girls came out at her high, she had to get the ball to the side.
Right.
Which is the secondary option. Right. We get the pin down, and then we're going to get. So that guard, if she was patient, she would allow the girl who set the down screen to pop out to the 3-point line. And then we would have got a side ball screen action to allow the girl to drive back middle. And then we're spaced out, 4 out, 1 in.
Well, I don't hate the shot that you end up with, and you do end up with that whole bottom part wide open. So I mean, still good action.
It gives you options as a reader. So we got to read every single time. Read it. It'll be there. It may be there if the defender is back being lazy. Do what you need to do.
So then here's my question to you, Dove, as a coach. If that is really working for you, are you the kind of coach that is opposed to running the same set 10, 15 times in a row?
I'll run it 30 times in a row if it works. But if they don't make adjustments, that's on them. But if they make adjustments and they start to, you start to see them kind of get, rear their ears back and they're pinning the tail on the donkey and they're getting in the passing lanes. They're being more aggressive in the passing lanes on the play. Yep. Then we will have to do something completely different to throw them off their rock.
Gotcha. And the next one is, give me 1 second here.
No
what do we
problem.
got? in a basic like spread pick and roll. So I mean, we start we in the offensive left slot. We got a double side on the right side of the floor, and we basically we attack this pick and roll. They get the switch. She's rolling on the single side tag. The help side action, I was curious to know sort of what your principles are on that double side because it looks like we were trying to set an up screen here where she's screening her own. We get downhill and we relocate the ball and drive middle again and get a little up and under shot out of it. Didn't end up
So
making it. I think they actually called a travel on this one. But talk to me about your spread and pick and roll and how you guys work it, where you want to attack, where how you're organizing it, all that stuff.
so we go back to that Princeton style offense or Villanova. We want to get 2 feet in the paint on drives,
Right.
right? We want to occupy the girls on the driving side, right? But as we set that screen, we have a girl either coming from the short corner or the 3-point line lifting. So the girls should be yelling, lifting, lifting, lifting on the backhand side, which will take away the help, meaning that they will have to switch and play man to man. If that girl, when that girl reached to look, now all of a sudden they're playing behind the basketball. So as the ball is being swung, we're just back to our 4 out, 1 in principles, right? Girls are ducking in, right? They don't get it, get out.
Right.
That's the rule. If you don't get it, get out. Get out. She's getting out. Now everybody's getting out. Now you see the lane opening back up.
I love it.
So that's something that we work on in practice where it's like, all right, you see it, you don't get it, you get out. Because then we want to make sure if we got one-on-one opportunities, we're good to go.
So first thing, sorry, I had overspoke you. My apologies. I don't actually believe that's a travel. Second thing is, in the exit cuts, do you have a rule as to which side they have to exit to?
No. They have to be able to feel the game out in that way, because if I tell them where to exit cut all the time, then they'll just be robots and exit cut. I told them, let's find spaces. There's 4 spots on the floor. If the ball is being attacked from the middle, find an open spot. We work on it all the time.
Gotcha. And that would just look like a continual shell type drill where it's just like get in, get out, get in, get out.
Get in, get out.
Love it. And then on the initial drive, this was my other question. The double side that's on this low side of the screen, number 10 screens her own. And I think you kind of topically mentioned what you wanted out of it. I'm not sure I entirely understood. I apologize. On the double side, do you have particular hard and fast rules as to like burn one and drift the other, or always setting a hammer screen, or are you just letting them try to make basketball plays?
So we want the top guard to always be in that hammer motion, so that the back guard, if you now watch as she's driving, the back guard that's in the corner is supposed to lift up, but she doesn't, which is fine. We want to occupy the help side defender in that motion, right? Any way best as we possibly can, right? So now all of a sudden, if she decides to eyeball the basketball and she touches her, let's say she touches her, that girl is supposed to lift up, and that's why she threw the pass to her, because that was supposed to be her shot in that area. And she didn't shoot it. She moved the ball.
Gotcha. Would this be accurate? I thought this is what you were saying the first time.
Correct.
Verify,
Correct.
right?
Correct. So she gets into that lane. You know, we're trying to get to that second little dash mark on the lane line, right? She got there. Now all of a sudden, the girl that's supposed to hammer didn't hammer, which is fine. She's collecting it. She doesn't collect it clean. We get it. We get back into our principles of attacking the basket 2 feet.
Love it. 4 high into a ball screen, basically. It's a unique action. You don't see very much 1-4 stuff, not very much 1-4 low, not very much 1-4 high any longer. Some people would still call this a horns. For me, horns is when the corners are all the way in. So on this action, we just pull to the offensive right side, and it turns into basically spread ball screen, right? So the post that was on the left side comes over to screen. The post that was on the right side pops above. She rejects, takes her on, gets in the paint, and then you have a cutter coming from the offensive left slot. She makes a hell of a finish underneath. Talk to me about the off-ball principles. Talk to me about the action.
So stop. If you stop it, if you go back, start at the beginning.
Yes, sir.
So the girl that's on the left elbow is probably one of my better shooters.
Right.
So in that regard, it's no, I'm sorry, that's the right. The left side. If we're looking at the basketball, she's on that side.
Gotcha.
So you see that she doesn't screen. In her option, she automatically goes, she lifts to the 3-point line,
Right.
to the opposite side of the 3-point line. And
Yep.
then the girl that's away from the basketball is the screener.
Right.
So now all of a sudden, if you want to switch and we're taking away the backside help, that's why she was able to read that screen.
Love it. So here we go. We get into that. And by taking away the backside help, you meant basically you're keeping them above the free throw line extended pretty much.
Correct.
Right?
Because look at her defender. She rub screens the big girl. So now the big girl is in la la. I call that la la land. She hasn't made a commitment to whether or not she's going to be up on the screen or she's going to drop coverage. Right.
Right.
So you see the rub happens, boom, right there. Just that little split second is a big difference in us executing this play. Right.
Well, she's also not particularly active to begin with, in my opinion. It doesn't look like she's sprinting. Like this reject is a beautiful read because, I mean, obviously your screener has come without her man.
Correct. And so we got shooters in the corner. So go back. Because we got kids that hit a 3 in the corners, she stops right there. It takes away, so the defender, instead of what she did initially, where she was watching the basketball and she was reaching in and losing sight of her girl, they're not. So they're staying put. So in that case, Gilligan's Island, go to work.
Go to work. Love it. And then on that, I mean, obviously 2 feet in the paint, uses a beautiful up and under. Your original shooter, as you described, makes a great cut, is coming.
Correct.
Is this part of your penetration principles, or is this just a good player making a good read?
No, that's what we want. That's what we want. That's what we always want. When I tell these girls, when you see your defender lose sight of you, is the best time to cut to the basketball.
Right.
And that's exactly what, now all of a sudden you got three set of eyes, including the defender, watching the basketball, right? And she makes an unbelievable up and under layup, which was phenomenal.
More of it. So I do 2 of your under outs. I like your under outs, first of all, because this box set I use. So it's a screen the screener action where you're pinning, she's coming out to the corner, and then you screen the screener, and then you actually pop both. I roll 2 and use one as a safety. The original action doesn't work. So talk to me about sort of like what your play after the play is on the under out. Is it basically just get it in the paint? And for anybody who's listening, I apologize. It's a
no. So when she pops out, she's a 3-point shooter. The girl with the knee pad on her, she's going to Division II school as a 3-point shooter. Right. We want to get her in the ball screen action right now. Why? Because she can get, that girl number 10 can get downhill. And when she gets downhill, she makes the right read. Now that girl's supposed to shot it. Instead, she's going to drive it.
She gets fouled. That's fine.
No. It was great. She had options because the girl that was defending her was in La La Land again. Like they were in. We were making sure that their team had to make decisions, on defense instead of just, playing to what they were giving us.
So when you're teaching this box, as I said, I use it so we have one option coming off for the shot, we have one option rolling, and then like you said, the pop back. When we get into this, when you're teaching it, are you still teaching from this point beyond, where it's like,
yes.
Hey, we didn't get anything underneath, but now we're looking pick and roll, pick and pop type deal out of this?
Yeah, but we also are staying with our principles of spacing the floor, 4 out, 1 in, right? That's exactly what this is all about. Space the floor, you know, because some girls who are not high IQ people will tend to run to the basketball all the time. They'll run to the basketball. Everybody's running to the
It's
basketball.
not just girls, guys do that too, especially
Oh,
if they don't trust the guy, right? They're like,
correct,
"Oh, come, let me get it from you." Like,
correct, correct. And this was just boom, attack, space. You got to read and react. Get to the spot, understand that spot, understand what you can do at that spot, and just go from there.
so Dove, I heard a really interesting one 2 weeks ago when I was at, I guess it was 3 weeks ago now, was the Final Four. I was watching a clinic, a basketball clinic, and the coach was like, um, you know, if you kind of fall asleep when your coach calls on you, if he's like, "Hey, Menelik, what's the answer?" If you're on the offensive side, the answer is always space. More space, coach. Space, more space. Like, and I thought like it was funny, but if you think about it, most scenarios just do kind of require that to happen.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, the slightest of action, and we get a slither of space, we can do something. We can be productive.
Love it. This was a horn set that I liked. Basically, we went offensive left slot and rolled the strong side. And then as we brought it back, we actually rolled the other side. And now we end up with basically a 5 out. We screen away at the same time. Number 10 tries to get downhill. We redrive. And now we're just basically duck in, get out. So talk to me about the efficacy of the set.
So go back to the original portion of the set.
Gotcha.
Oh, I'm sorry. So stop it right there. So what we try to do, we screen and rescreen. Once they come off the screen, the initial screen, she starts it. So she comes off, she reads the rescreen, she dives. Now once she attacks the girl at the top is cutting back door.
Right.
That's we want a small little Princeton action. Cut back door, and then she's supposed to go set a away screen, right?
Yep.
Away screen, the middle is wide open because her defender is to the back. Now she should have kept driving it harder to the paint because number 5, who was guarding the point guard, is not paying attention to her.
Right.
Right? She gives it up right before she can truly get into the paint. Now, if we drive at each other, it's an automatic backdoor. So she drove at her, automatic backdoor. She doesn't get it, she can post up, turn and post up. If not, get out to the 3-point line, looking for the dribble handoff. But instead, she capped it. She should have, if she would have taken one more dribble to attack the girl's body, she would have got to the free throw line.
Well, what I find really interesting about this one is almost every other set that you guys have, your girls play off of 2, get into the body, all of that, and she shoots almost sort of like the little fadeaway one there.
Correct.
Yeah.
That's something I have to work with her on, but she, but she's gotten better with that situation, and it was good. It was good. It was really good.
Love it. What do we got? This is the other under out, and you only ran this the one time. You ran the other one that we were looking at, I think 3 or 4 times. So I was curious, first of all, what made you go to it? For anybody who's listening, it's a 4-low set. We back up and we enter to the strong side forward, who then receives a ball screen, and basically we end up looking like spread. She rejects it, and then she pulls and misses. Talk to me about why you're going 4-low instead of the box. Talk to me about the shot selection. Talk to me about the action, wrinkles, all of that, please.
So in this particular play, right, it is designed for her to reject it, to reject the screen. So she's probably one of our more athletic kids at 6 foot, can really jump, can really shoot. She's going to Stony Brook, so she can create. So I created this play just to single out the girls that were guarding her.
Right.
Because she can shoot it off the dribble, she can attack, she can attack. She can utilize the screen and roll. We can isolate their forwards. If they have like a bigger girl, like we played a girl that was 6'5" earlier in the year. Oh, I made sure I ran this. This is low. I call this low. Oh,
Right.
pop up. If she doesn't come up, shoot it. If she comes up too hard, attack it. If she's balanced, screen it. Those are the three actions that we work on, and we space the shooters on the floor to allow her to give some space.
Now, talk to me about the shot selection for her. Obviously, she can hit that. Is this one
Oh,
that you are okay with it?
yes.
Yeah.
I mean, sometimes with good players, you got to be okay with bad shots, right?
Yeah.
Just knowing that I've seen her hit bad shots like that consistently, and I'm like, you know what? I'm okay with it. It's a great shot attempt. She was a little bit on balance, but I've seen her hit that shot. And sometimes you got to live with the fact that your best players are going to take some ill-advised shots that you're
Right.
like, I wish you would have drove in, but I can't live on that factor. You know, I got to coach for the next moment.
I got you. And then the next one is just a simple 77 or double drag action. We're coming from the offensive right side to the offensive left side. We roll the first, and then we actually rescreen or twist the second one. And the first that had rolled, ducked in, got a great seal. I believe it's actually the same girl that just missed that shot, and
Correct.
worked down low. Talk to me about how much of this is a read versus how much of this is
We
playing.
we singled her out in the beginning. We singled her out. Like we wanted to ice her, and that was the reason why she was the first screener,
Right.
because we wanted to get her going down low. She took too many shots on the perimeter. She hasn't been physical. She drove. We were like, okay, we're gonna ice her by twist screening the second girl. And the second girl played over the top just how we wanted it. And we were able to get the entry pass into the post. And again, right? Pause it right there. Well, right there is fine.
On
The help side defender can't go away from and help down low on the post. If she does, the girl that she's moving away from knocks down for 40% from three.
All right. Yeah, that's easy action there. So were you anticipating the switch in this action? So like they switched that first one, and then
they switched
top.
a lot. They switched a lot, and the secondary girl played in our favor because she went over top instead of going underneath.
Right.
And that way she was able to get a great seal.
I'll tell you this much: your first girl ducks in better than most of the players I got right now. Ducking in is a lost art.
Her father played Division II ball at St. Rose, and he's 6'7", and he was a coach. He was a former coach, but unfortunately he's no longer with us. He passed away from COVID. And her brother plays at Cornell as a 6'7" big, so she had a lot of practice.
There you go. And then this one is just a guarding one where one of your girls gets rejected and line drived. So here's the action where we swing to the offensive right slot or wing, and then there's a pop up top, and basically we're coming to follow our pass with a screen, but our defenders turned around and gets rejected on straight line drive, takes her to the rack. Talk to me about your help principles. Talk to me about the early action. What do you see here?
So she does the initial. So the number 10 is probably one of our best like on ball defenders. She does a great job of making her go back the same way she came. Right. We want to make sure that they go back the same way that they came. All right. If we get the switch, we're ready. So you see the one girl is glued to the girl who's passing it. She's ready for the switch, just in case. She's ready for the switch. The problem lies in the girl where she's coming from is in la la land. I call that la la land. She hasn't made a decision on whether or not she's going to help She hasn't made a decision whether or not she's going to commit to the shooter and get out there and deny her the pass to the point where she can't stick her nose in. Stop it right there. So right there, she's in La La Land watching, and she should have been the first person sticking her nose into the play. Again, the second girl is trying to make a decision and getting in a better defensive stance and making a decision to stick in kind of too late. She didn't stick in. She didn't commit like she wanted it.
Right.
You know, and at that time, we were down the entire game. So we're down 4 points with 5 minutes to go in the fourth quarter. If we get a charge right there, that'll be that girl's third or fourth personal. And that's a swing, that's a swing action in regards to, how this game could have truly, went for us.
For sure. Momentum changer.
So
in an ideal world, obviously the low help probably comes over sooner, but how would you have this top girl that gets spun right here? How would you have her play this? Is she forcing it over? What decision would you like her to make?
So at that time, she was being aggressive, right? And I want to make sure the girl that's on the ball is aggressive, because if they're not, then we're not setting the table for what's to come. I call this house, right? House principles. There should be 1 foot on the lane on both sides of the basketball. You're going to see part of the house was actually being established. So when she gets the ball, the bottom side girl is on her house and about to go to her house, part of her house, right? 1 foot in. The top girl that had the ball handoff is in her house, right? She's ready to go. She's backing down. That bottom half girl that on the opposite side should have been in her house, and she wasn't. So we do house principles, just like regular shell, 5-man shell, but I call it house. I'll yell it out to the girls. House, house, house. We want our principles is we want the ball in front of us, not behind us, not on the side of us, in front. So if we get that girl to kick it out on a girl stepping over, and then we're closing out with high hands, we're good to go.
Love it. Dove, you made it through the gauntlet. That's it. That's all I got for you in terms of clips from the game. I wanted to take a second and thank you, and obviously the other coaches that jump on, et cetera, and say, I appreciate you, and being the beneficiary of your knowledge for the past couple of years has really helped me get through, along with all the other bullies for sure. And as expected, did a wonderful job. So thank you for taking the time and sitting down with me. And for all the fans of Run It Back, I hope you continue to find value. But Dove, nothing but love, man. Appreciate you.
And thank you so much for having me. Thank you for having me on this great platform. I've seen quite a few guys be successful on here and talking about their seasons, and I'm just appreciative just to be able to share this with you.
And for anybody out there who doesn't know, keep an eye out. Jonathan Mandeldove is on the rise. That's quite the coach on the come up right there. I'm going to end it there, and I'll see you guys next week. Thank you very much. Dove, hang out. I'll stop the recording here. We can shoot the breeze for a bit.